All right, ladies and gentlemen, according to this, it's showing that it is live, so we're going to start this little chat here, and I'd like to welcome everybody. Of course, my name is Chris. This is Barnum 11970. And the beautiful thing that I find, and of course, everything I'm going to talk about is my own opinion, it's my own perspective, and how you view things is definitely going to be up to you. There's no right way or there's no wrong way, it's only your way. And we're going to talk about consequences. Now, those of you who saw some of the things I was talking about yesterday, when you have any situation come your way, good, bad, and different, if you choose to ignore it, then you never learn from it. Now, the good thing about any consequence is whether you act or react or don't act at all, you can affect the world, and at the very least, affect yourself and the people around you with your choices. And I've said in several videos that there are three ways you can go in life. You can do the right thing, the wrong thing, or nothing. Now, sometimes that is hard to decipher which is which, because one person's justified action could be somebody else's justified inaction. So it really depends on the person. So my thing is, as long as you're trying to do the right thing from your own perspective and you're not hurting others, in your mind, that's going to be your truth. But keep that in mind. And with any situation that arises, if you pay attention to it, you can learn from it. And that's why I'm going to talk about some of the things I did that involve some of the situations that happened the past couple of days. When you have something come to you, to where it affects you other than just something that just passes you by and you just forget it and it doesn't have any impact. When something impacts your life, good or bad, there's usually a reason for it. Ignoring it will tend to have that type of pattern repeat itself. I mean, you ever had relationships where no matter how many new people you meet, it's the same kind of person, just in a different shell of a body? It's because when we don't face things and we don't learn from them, they keep repeating. And I'm sure there are many people in life who have said, oh, why does this always keep happening to me? Why do I keep meeting the same people? It's because for some reason we choose to ignore the bad. We always appreciate the good, but for some reason we're afraid to talk about the bad. And if you learn from an experience, it can affect you in a positive way, or at least push you in a different direction. It's growth. So the situation that occurred with me recently, now I could have easily just said, well, let's just pretend it never happened and move on. But as you can see, I took a bad situation and grew from it. And this is what I recommend from people, is no matter what experience is presenting yourself, no matter how horrible it may seem, no matter how depressing it may seem, you know, how many people leave you, abandon you, or support you, whatever, there's usually a reason for it, especially if something keeps repeating itself. There's cycles in life. I mean, if you don't know that by now, you obviously don't know that the Earth travels supposedly around the sun, and every year we have the same place that it started from. The moon goes around the Earth, and every 30 and some odd minutes, 30 days and some odd minutes, because it's not exactly 30 days, we have a repeat cycle. I mean, it's part of history. It's part of what this world is all about. So we're going to talk about consequences. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole detail of everything, because as far as I'm concerned, that stuff's done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some growth out of it and hopefully pass that knowledge on. Now, the long story short is, when you take responsibility for your part in something, you will learn from it. Potentially, you will grow. If you choose to say, I had no responsibility in something, the only person you tend to hurt is yourself. Now, in response to what happened where I was directly or indirectly involved, it depends on where you want to start the story. But there was a message that I placed, because the individual who contacted me 4 times did not respond to my just casually asking them what they meant by the things that they said. Long story short, it ends up they basically made themselves out to be victims in the situation. And there was a sentence that I've said a couple of times that might make sense to people out there that kind of maybe antagonize people? Maybe it's a loved one, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's just somebody on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, and you think there's no consequences. Now, just imagine if you see a hornet's nest and you don't want to destroy it, but you go up to it and just start lightly tapping it, just out of curiosity. You're not trying to destroy the nest. You're not trying to hurt the hornets inside. You're just tapping it, just out of curiosity. Now, if you tap a hornet's nest, all of a sudden, a bunch of the hornets are going to come out because they feel like they may be under attack. They can't assume that you're just, oh, what will happen if I tap this? And you're going to get stung. Now, even if you did not go into it with aggressive, I'm going to murder those hornets mentality, but for your actions, there would not have been the reaction. So to complain or be upset that you got stung means that you're not learning and taking responsibility for your take in a situation. Now, when it came to the situation from the other day, I am the first to admit that I did not handle it to the best of my ability. I take responsibility. When I made my videos, which I still left up, I went overboard. I got very angry. Justified or not, there is still responsibility that has to be played in this. And this is where we all learn and we grow. So the situation arises that I was approached and I reacted to it. How I reacted to it is the way I can control the situation. But when you talk about consequences, whether I was in the right or I was wrong, and that's not for anybody else but myself to basically think about, it causes chain reactions. Now, you in this world may have either had happened to you or you've done this to someone else where you might have nudged them a little bit or pushed them a little bit or said something that you thought was no big deal. And what people don't realize is what you do and say can affect other people's lives. And I've talked about this before, and I've used this as an example, but I haven't done it here. So let's say, for example, there is just a regular guy that you think is a regular guy walking down the street. And his head is down, and he's mumbling to himself, and he's not paying attention. And he accidentally bumps into you. You can ignore it. You could say, oh, excuse me, or you could want to start a fight. So let's say the first scenario, you decide to start a fight with him. And you don't realize that that person just lost a family member. And they're just so in thought about losing that person and being so sad that they're not really paying attention. So they didn't bump into you to start a fight. It was just they weren't paying attention. Something was important in their life was they were thinking about, not focusing when they're going. They accidentally bump into you and you want to start a fight. Now, let's say this person is a doctor and he was on his way to go operate on somebody who had some kind of thing that could have been cured or fixed if he put his time and effort into the operation. And all he could think about is not only the death of a family member, but the fact that somebody bumped in, he accidentally bumped into somebody and the other person wanted to start a fight. How much of an effort do you think that person is going to use in saving that other person's life? His head's not going to be focused. So you may think, oh, well, you know, that was cool. I was with my friends and I wanted to look tough in front of my friends. So when that person accidentally bumped into me, I escalated and tried and start a fight because it made me look cool by my friends. Now, all your other friends might have been there high-fiving you, saying, oh, yeah, you really showed that person. And you may never know that he was a doctor on his way to go save somebody. See how there can be a pattern. And then the other example is that same scenario, walking down the street, person bumps into you, and when he bumps into you, he doesn't even know it, but he drops his wallet. And you, as a good citizen, a good human, I don't even want to say citizen, if you watch other videos, you know what I mean by that term, and you chase him, you run him down and say, listen, I just wanted to let you know you dropped your wallet, and you hand it to him. And he's just like, wow, wait a minute. something good happened. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's my dead spouse's ghost or whatever sending me a little sign that everything's going to be okay and things aren't as bad. And they do that operation with a smile on their face, with more energy. So when it comes to things in your life that present themselves to you, there are reasons for things. Well, now, whether you believe in those things or not, that doesn't change what is. And if you learn from any negativity or even something positive, if you can learn and pull something out of it, then it served a purpose. And that's why with the events that happened to me, I learned a little bit more. Now, does that mean now all of a sudden I'm perfect, I'm going to do everything right? Of course not. But it means that maybe I should look at things a different way. Maybe I should kind of bring it back a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't be as confrontive, even if I am in the right, in my own opinion. So what I want people to do that come to this channel is not to think anybody's 100% right or 100% wrong. You have to listen to both sides of a story. But when it comes to what's presented to you, if you're going through life and saying, why does this always happen to me? How come I keep running into the same situations? It's most likely because there is some lesson that's trying to show itself to you and wondering why you're not paying attention. And that's why you'll notice sometimes it gets worse and worse. Like you'll get into relationships that you keep saying, oh, I keep attracting the same person. And notice the word attraction. It's all about, like I've said in many videos, about electricity and magnetism and how you get attracted or repelled to certain things. And you'll notice that you'll keep repeating the same thing over and over again. But once you start to face it, once you start to learn from it and see it for not a bad thing, but an opportunity to learn, all of a sudden things can change. Now, for example, with my channel, you're going to get some people out there that are going to automatically dismiss what I say without researching it. Well, if that's the way they want to spend their lives, well, that's their choice. But they will be very aggressive towards people like me and others. So I'm not going to say I'm the only one. There are plenty of people. I watch plenty of people's videos, and I see some of the comments that people leave. And there's an old saying that says, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But what may seem funny to someone else could be almost borderline suicidal to someone else. And there have been people on YouTube or other places that have injured themselves or even wanted to kill themselves because of what other people say. And I think in this world, if we actually realize what our way of life is and how we treat others affects other people, it's not a proud moment to know you hurt somebody for fun, for profit. It's easy to gang up on somebody. So if you're one of those people that has been a victim, true strength comes from one person having to handle a bunch of people. And it takes a bunch of people to have that same strength to go after one person, whether they want to see that or not. But I've seen people on other videos where their lives have been changed. And that's one of the things I almost gave up my other channel. And I almost gave this up years ago on this channel because of what other people did. And I'm sure there are people along the way that are very glad that I chose not to do that, because I've had people in my time, and I'm just explaining my experience. It may be different for you, but on my videos, I've had numerous people send me either comments or messages saying that I literally helped save their lives. Now, just imagine if I let some few people decide to make me just shut this down and say the hell with it years ago. What would have happened to those people? Now, they might have had another video save them. Who knows? Just like anything that you do and say to people will affect them, sometimes for the rest of their lives. I mean, a physical pain or a scar or something, it may hurt, but it's not going to hurt forever, at least not in the same way that it happened. You know, you break your arm, it's going to hurt, it's going to be painful. But 50 years from that time, you're not going to still feel that initial break. But the mental aspect of somebody hurting you, it can last a lifetime. And that's why I always found it funny when people say things like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's nice to say, but just imagine if you grew up with your family saying nothing but derogatory statements, saying how you'll never amount to anything, and that you're no good, or you're too heavy, or you're too ugly, or you're too whatever. You don't think that's going to affect that person and scar them? But I also want, on the same side, for people that have been made fun of, for people that have been attacked and ridiculed because they're different, because they dress differently, they believe differently, they think differently, that just because one person or even 1 million people say something that may be hurtful, it's only their opinion. And it takes 2, 3, a dozen, 100, 1,000 people to gang up on one person. That's not true strength. So what I'm trying to say when it comes to this, when it comes to consequences, is a lot of times what you do and say to others, you may never see the impact that it can cause. But trust me when I say, when you give negative, it will cause negative. You will never put someone down and have amazing things come out of it. Like, I've seen so many people, like I've seen videos where people were very overweight, and they would talk about how people would say, oh, you know, if only you were skinny, you would look so much better. And, oh, you're so heavy, and I'm doing this to make you lose weight. All that does is make the person depressed. All that does is make people feel down. It doesn't motivate. You want to motivate somebody? Inspire them. Because just imagine what somebody can do. You might think there is somebody in this world that is totally insignificant. But how do you know they're not the next Michael Jackson as far as a pop singer and how his music affected the world? Or an Albert Einstein? Or somebody that just randomly invents something, and because of your inspiration or love, you allow them to create it. And just imagine if somebody came up with an idea and so many people thought it was crazy and they stopped it. And what if that was an idea that eventually could lead down the road into curing cancer or solving world hunger or creating world peace? You don't know. So the anger and the frustration and the gang up mentality, for whatever reasons, never creates anything good. Now, it may make you feel good. You may sit there and say, hurting somebody else makes me feel good. But I want you to sit there and actually just process that. If you get joy from hurting others, what does that say about you? Because like they say, it's more of a reflection of yourself. Now, again, if you don't take responsibility for what you do, you'll never improve. You'll always stay stagnant. You will be a lake. Now, lakes are mucky. They're dirty. They're unclean because they're stagnant. They don't go anywhere. You'd never want to go to a pond, scoop up that mucky green water and drink it. But a stream, because it's constantly flowing and it's constantly moving, going to new places, well, there's a reason why the water is clear, because it's constantly moving, it's adapting, it's growing, it's changing. So you ever wonder to yourself, if you're one of those people, why you're not changing and growing, and you're still the same person you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, still doing the same thing, still associating with the same people, and you're not happy? Then you have to realize it's time to look at yourself and say, is it time to readjust? Because it's never too late. And there will be people who will never understand what you do, will never understand what you say, will never understand what you believe in. But remember, belief is nothing more than somebody hoping that what they choose to resonate with is the truth. Now, it could be their truth. Does that mean it's wrong because everybody else doesn't agree? If I look up at the sky and I see the sky as green colored, and I truly see the sky as green, does it matter if everyone else on the planet says it's blue? It's perspective. Now, why should they make you feel that you're wrong when your own truth is that's what you see? But we allow it to affect us, and that does create the consequences. Because let me tell you something. I've been down the road of depression. I've been down the road of anger. I mean, I just had that 2 days ago. But the thing is, that's part of being human. You're going to have your ups and downs. Nobody is a saint 100% of the time, and nobody is the devil 100% of the time. We have our ups and downs. The idea is to, if you have something negative happen, not to stay that way. So yes, 2 days ago, I reacted to somebody poking at my hornet's nest, and I stung them. But the sad thing is, they got upset when it happened and did not take responsibility. Now, was I in the right? It doesn't matter. If I stay that way, if I stayed angry, then I'm hurting myself. And I'm also hurting people that I care about. So again, there is consequence. Because, for example, on my other channel, and I've discussed this, I have a comic book channel. It's something that takes away some of the stress from, talking about this stuff, because it can be draining. I did a show a couple of days ago, and I recommend you watch it, on PTSD. Now, I wasn't a therapist there. I wasn't trying to heal anybody. I wasn't giving medical advice. I was getting people who wanted to do this to come and talk about their stories, because for some of them, it was the first time they ever had somebody or anybody care enough to want to hear their story. And they did it when they were comfortable at their own levels. And I had people tell me that were on that show that they felt really good. They felt better. It helped give them more confidence. And there were some people out there that said I shouldn't do that. Well, just imagine if I believed what they said and didn't do it because, their opinion affects me. Well, see the consequences there. The people that benefited from that show, or may benefit in the future from that show, will have never had that opportunity. So who knows? Like, for example, and I'm just going to say one name because he's somebody I respect. His name is Semper Fi Comic Guy. He's a great guy, and he does suffer from PTSD. And I'm not going to get into the details because that's not my business to do that. But he has told me, and he said it on several occasions, that my video is helping him. Now, did it cure him and now all of a sudden he is not suffering from it at all? No. I'm not going to sit here and think my ego needs to be stroked that much. But did it help put him on a better path? According to him, yes. So if I did not make that video because somebody else said I shouldn't, then just imagine where that person's road might be traveling at this point. He's admitted that it's given him more inspiration, that he's actually been able to sleep a little bit better, that his relationship with him and his wife are a little bit better. Who knows where that might lead 5 years from now? Maybe all of a sudden he does fix it. Maybe all of a sudden he comes up with the next cure for cancer. Who knows? So never underestimate your kindness to someone, because you will be amazed at the domino effects that it will create. And the same with negativity. It goes both ways. Think of setting up a set of dominoes, and they're all lined up. If your intention was only to knock down the first domino, and that's it, then you push that domino with the intent of saying, I'm just knocking down this one, that's all I'm doing. You notice how they will all continue to fall, even though you only pushed the one domino? And that's the same thing with life. You could say, oh, well, I'm only kidding around with that person, or I hate that person, so I'm just gonna antagonize them. That affects people. It affects other people, because as you saw on my video, other people got themselves involved. And on the other person's side, other people got themselves involved. And that created a disharmony. Now, of course, we can't change the past. But we can change our present, and we can definitely change our future, because the future is not here yet. And our present is what we're currently doing. So it only takes a split second to say, you know what? It's time I grew up, or it's time I changed, or it's time I look differently, or it's time I don't let other people's words affect me. Easier said than done, and there will be times you will be tested, you will slip. And other people will have their opinions of you. So never give up, and never let anybody's opinion, especially if it's negative, hurt you. Easier said than done, like I said, and it does take time, it does take strength, but you can get through anything. And if you take something that's presented to you, it's almost like, think about yourself as a director of a movie, and your life is the movie. You've already made some of the scenes, you're presently filming a scene, and you have plenty of scenes that have not been made yet. So you're in the process of making your movie. If somebody comes along and hands you a script, whether they say, here, I'll give you $1 million if you add this into the script. Let's say you're writing a love story, and it's a cartoon love story made for kids. And somebody comes along and says, I want you to put this scene in where some monster comes and brutally murders somebody. And they say, I'll give you $1 million to put this in the film. Or they threaten you and say, you have to put this in your film. Or they guilt trip you into saying, please, if you don't put this in the film, something bad's going to happen. Or they just say, here, can you put this in the film? You can say no. You make the choice. In this thing that we call life, whatever it is for you, there is a reason why we are here. We're here to learn something. Otherwise, we're just placed here randomly to do random things and everything means nothing. I would hate to think that would be the truth. It could be. But if you have any type of purpose, pay more attention to what's going on in your life, but not to the point where you allow it to affect you if it goes against your belief system or your own guts. Trust your own instincts. If something doesn't feel right, there's a reason why you're feeling it. Don't always think with the brain. Feel from the heart. And you'd be amazed at what directions you may go. And when you understand that what you do and say will affect others and can change the world, you will start to be more and more responsible about how you treat others and how you treat yourself. Because trust me, if a person is not the most attractive person in the world, and they're not the most popular person in the world, and they're not the skinniest person in the world, there may be people that will make fun of them because it's just easy to do. Especially when you want to fit in, you're going to have a whole bunch of people gang up on somebody. But realize what you're doing to that person. You are making them sad. You are making them depressed. You are making them unmotivated. You may even make them want to end their own lives. And this happens a lot more in the younger generations because you want to fit in. But as you could see, with me being 45 years old, there are still people out there, and I've had many adults confront me just because of my difference of opinion. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say everything I say is 100% right. It may be for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be for you. But my thing is, if you don't like what I say, nobody is forcing you to be here. If you don't like what I do, no one's asking you to utilize it or promote it. But when people come to me and present themselves to me, they are creating a situation. Now, how I respond to it is up to me. But to not take responsibility for your part only hurts yourself. Because again, you could go up to a hornet's nest. You could have every intention to say, you know what? I just want to tap on that hornet's nest. I don't want to hurt it. I don't want to destroy it. I don't want to hurt any of those animals. I just want to tap the nest. Well, if you never tapped the nest, you wouldn't have gotten stung. So most people will go through life and say, well, you know, I didn't want to hurt that nest. I just tapped it. I didn't hurt it. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just tapping it. And I got stung, and oh, it hurt, and oh, I'm injured, and oh my God, I'm allergic to bee stings. Now I'm going to die. Well, if you didn't do it, then that wouldn't happen. So that's why one of the parts I got very upset with is the person that claimed me to be the attacker was the instigator. And again, I will say that that person didn't come at me with swords drawn. He wasn't threatening my life. He wasn't name calling me. But he was doing things that were not friendly and were not positive. And they were instigating in nature. And I did the right thing at first. When they responded by saying the words that they said, I not only once, but twice replied to them via tweet. What did you mean by what you said? Both times ignored. And then a third time they left another message about what I shouldn't be doing. So this person's telling me what I should not be doing. Coming to my channel doing that. After the fourth time, I blocked him. So he did not like the way I responded. And yes, I responded very loudly, because not only did I have that person antagonizing me, I had others accusing me of things from one's perspective. I had people wanting to fight me over it. And then I find a person that I thought was a friend used me. Yes, I was heated. And at the heat of the moment, I reacted. He got stung. Consequences. Could we have talked about it? Well, I tried to. He chose to not respond. Could it have been handled better? Of course. There's always, regret is always looking back at something you've already done. But you can't really regret something you did, because at the time you felt it was right. Right or wrong, you did it, you can't change it. But you can learn from it. And the biggest lesson I learned is to not really care about what other people's opinions are when they are negative. Now, I understand if somebody is giving me criticism and constructive criticism. But when somebody just blatantly hurts or attacks, I'll give you a prime example. I showed myself on camera yesterday. Not because I was afraid to ever show myself, because if you've been on this channel for a while, this is 200 or 300 videos where I show myself. It was never about fear. It was just, I started liking doing these kind of formats, because I could literally sit in my bathrobe and talk all I want. But to me, I like it. You don't have to upload as long, because it goes directly off of YouTube. Saves a lot of time. And my strength is my voice. But somebody the other day, and it's just typical hater reaction, that instead of dealing and talking like human beings, they attack the fact that I'm supposedly bald, which I find funny because I shaved my head. But even if that's the case, what does that have to do with it? It just is silly. But yet I'm sure they felt good about themselves, and that's why they do it. But they don't understand how hurting somebody like myself with the channels that I have, all of a sudden I could say the hell with it, or I could start becoming bitter, or I can end up hurting somebody else. Because, for example, one of the things I talked about yesterday is, as I was driving to work, before I had that good situation happen, which, by the way, I still have 2 of those donuts left that I'm about to enjoy, I was saying to the point where I was clenching my steering wheel. I was very angry. And at one point, as I was pulling into the area where my salon is, there's a big parking lot. I was going to turn in to where one of the parking spots were, and there was a older man and an older woman that I did not see, because maybe I wasn't focused right, or there was a little blind spot around the turn. And they started yelling at me like I did it on purpose. Now, what if I was so mad I got out and went to hit them and ended up murdering them? Because, if you have a 70, 80-year-old man, you could hit him, he could die of a heart attack. But just imagine where my life would be after that, because, I'm going to prison then. The idea is, when you hurt somebody, it may be for pleasure, it may be for fun, it may be whatever. And you may never even notice how you affect somebody. But it can also affect other people down the road. Because what if I was still mad? What if the whole donut thing, and if you didn't watch that, watch the other video to understand what I mean by the whole donut thing. Let's say none of that happened, and I was still mad, and I was still angry. And I came home, and my wife comes up to me and says something nasty. And all of a sudden, out of my rage, I became abusive for the first time in my life because of what other people said. It should not make anybody proud, because I've seen many videos where I've seen YouTube videos where people said that other YouTubers killed themselves over what other people said. That should never be something to be proud of. That's disgusting. But yet, if you notice the typical person that will say negative, nasty things, if you click on their profile, there will be no content, no videos, no picture, no anything. So it's somebody making a fake profile just to antagonize others, just because they can and they find it fun. Not caring how it affects others. And if you're one of those people that has been affected, whether you make videos or maybe you're just different, maybe you have different views, don't ever feel bad or feel afraid to post something because somebody else will say it's crazy. That's why things do not grow, why we do not become a better society, because we're so worried about what everybody else does and says instead of worrying about what you do and say. Now, again, my content is not going to be for everyone. Not everybody is going to like what I say. Not everybody's going to agree with what I say, and that's fine. But to come here to repeatedly tell me you don't like it, even though I have the right to have it, is more of a reflection of you than me. Because just imagine if you're sitting there, you have a remote control in your hand. You have 600 different channels that you can watch. And you put on, let's just say channel 1, just so this way we're not trying to insult any particular channel. You put on channel 1, let's just assume that that channel exists. And you're watching a show that you absolutely hate. You don't like the plot. You don't like the characters. You don't like the story. It's a comedy, but you don't find it funny. You find it in bad taste. And all you do is every day tune into that show and calling in to the people who make it, telling them how much you hate it. Doesn't that sound silly? And then just imagine doing that for day upon day, week upon week, month upon month, year upon year. Who's the crazy one there? The people that made that TV show? And that TV show may be bad, may be horrible, it may be everything that that person says may be 100% right. But all you have to do is click the channel changer or shut it off or walk away. So I can understand that some of the things I talk about may be strange, may be different, may be out there. But don't watch it if you don't like it. And if you want to make an opinion one time and say, you know what, I watched this video, I don't agree, thank you for your, opinion. Good luck, and I hope you find somewhere else. But I actually have people that not only have been commenting here for 5 years or talking about me on other videos out of context for 5 years, they actually followed me to my comic book page, and they are stalking other people's channels, leaving post after post about how they don't agree with me. So is that a more of a reflection on me, or is that more of a reflection on them? So remember that if you make YouTube videos or make Facebook posts or talk at the water cooler at your job, don't ever be afraid to speak your own truth, because that's all it is. And I said the other day, if I went up to you and said, you're a cat, and I don't mean trying to say a nice word for another word. I'm saying if somebody literally came up to you and said, you're a cat, does that make you a cat? Because somebody said it? So who cares? But what people don't understand is there are always, for every action, there is a reaction. So do your best to either do the right thing as much as you can, or at least pay attention to the things you do. Because if you are repeating the same pattern and having the same things present yourself over and over again, there is a reason for it. Now, if somebody is repeatedly spewing hate, they are obviously not living wonderful, pleasant lives. Because if you were, for example, living at Playboy Mansion, let's just assume that kind of thing would be something you would enjoy. I'm not assuming everybody would. Let's assume you're a person whose dream job would be to be working at the Playboy Mansion, surrounded by Playboy playmates, and they all love you, and you are having the greatest time of your life. Do you think you're going to spend 1 minute online trying to hurt other people? Do you think you'd care You'd be having too much fun. So think about people, like, and I'm just saying for the people, in my own opinion, that come to want to hurt me purposely, not once, not twice, but hundreds of times. If you look deeper into why, you will understand at the bare minimum, they cannot be having the most fulfilling, happy lives. Because if they did, they would not be spreading hate as much as they are. So is that more on me or on them? Now with me, I love making videos. And you could see that because despite the hate, despite the criticism, despite the accusations, and the taking things out of content, and people calling my belief system crazy, even though I have the right to have it, I continue to do it because it brings me joy. And if you do something you love, you're not really working. Is it always easy? Nothing in life really ever is. But it's rewarding when I get messages and comments from people saying I changed their lives, even a little bit, because I guarantee you, when I change their lives, they mean it in a good way. You can change somebody's life by hurting them. That's not really something to be proud of. And they could hurt their family, or they could hurt their friends, or they could not be paying attention. Just imagine if you're at work with one of your friends, and let's just say he just learned some stuff that he really believes in, and he's excited to share it with his friends at the water cooler. He's all enthusiastic, or she's all enthusiastic about what they're about to say, and their friends call him crazy. They laugh at him, or even get mad at him. Let's say somebody brought up, oh, I just learned all this stuff about 9/11. And we're not going to get into that here, but let's just say they learned that in their own mind, they found and researched a whole bunch of stuff that said 9/11 didn't happen the way that it was presented. And then all of a sudden, the people he thought were his friends, who were always there for him to drink with him and have him go out and, party with them, all of a sudden they call you crazy, they get mad at you, and they don't talk to you anymore. And now all of a sudden, all the people you thought were your friends just abandon you. You don't think that's going to affect that person in a negative way? How they're going to feel? Now just imagine with all of that shock of, wait a minute, I just wanted to show people the stuff that I found. And all of my friends not only abandoned me, but they made fun of me and they deserted me. Now just imagine on the way home, as the whole time as he's driving, it's like, oh, I can't believe that happened. And why would, those jerks, I can't believe they did that. All I wanted to do was help. And in the middle of him yelling and screaming in his mind, he's not paying attention to the car in front of him, smashes into him, killing a carload of people. Now, did the friends that caused that pain for him to think that way, did they cause the car accident? No. But if not for their actions, maybe that scenario would have never occurred. And that is why most people that want to hurt are very selfish people who can only have the vision of thinking at that particular moment, because they do it for the pleasure. And they do not say, wait a minute, if I make fun of a person, it may hurt them. They may hurt themselves. They may hurt others. They may not focus on their job and cause something else down the line. Imagine if that friend was an airline pilot, and the day before he's about to do his transatlantic flight, he goes to a party and with his girlfriend that he's in love with. And in the middle of the conversation, he brings up the 9/11 for the first time. His girlfriend's never heard of it. His friends have never heard of it. And he's just there, you know what, I'm just going to have one drink because I have to fly tomorrow. And all of his friends humiliate him, laugh at him, get angry at him. And his girlfriend, who he's in love with and wants to propose to and marry, says, I can't believe you think that way. What is wrong with you? And they get into a fight, and ultimately she breaks up with him. And he decides now, with his anger, with his depression, he leaves that party, goes straight to a bar, because he wants to drink away his problems, because many people do that. Trust me, I work at bars, I see it all the time. And he gets himself hammered, because not only is he depressed, he's angry, and now he's drunk. And he decides he may be drunk, but he's fine. He'll go on the plane tomorrow. He'll fly the plane. You don't think that could change a bunch of people's lives? Not only the people on that plane, but the family of the people on that plane, and the family of the people on the plane, and so on and so forth. Now, again, did his girlfriend and did those friends who attacked him and made fun of him and hurt him cause a plane crash? No. But do you think that situation would have been the same if they would have just said, you know what? I may not agree with it, but let's hear what you have to say, or let's have a rational conversation. Oh, really? You think differently about 9/11? Let's hear your story. Let's hear yours. Let's research it. Do you think that scenario would have been the same? And that is where people do not think. So yes, if people want to attack me because I've talked about things that are strange, that's fine. But if you're going to attack me for them and not even research them and just say, oh, that sounds crazy, so I hate you. Luckily, I'm strong enough to where it may knock me down, but it does not knock me out. But not everybody can be that strong. And you have to be very delicate, because I don't know that person, Kevin. I don't know what his real intentions were. It could have been purely, well, I don't want to make assumptions. But my thing is, now I'm not going to go, whether I'm right or wrong, and I believe I'm definitely in the right because I didn't initiate that, but for the fact that he came to me, none of the other stuff would have ever happened. So if he would have never went on my Twitter page saying all the things that he said, there would have been no reason for me to even mention him, because I didn't know anything. I didn't think about him for months, nor did I care to. None of the other stuff would have happened. And the fact that you didn't take responsibility, I could easily continue to harass and make other videos saying things. But how would that benefit? Because what happens if, even though I was right, and everybody realized, wow, that person really did antagonize, and, Chris was sorry that we assumed, and all of a sudden he gets depressed and shoots himself. You think that would make me feel good? You think I want that? No. So I pretty much ended it at this point. Now, that doesn't mean you can't talk about it, but you don't hear me being abusive. So it's okay to discuss things. And that is why, if you see my video yesterday, I even took responsibility for my own part, because I can easily say, oh, I'm 100% right, even if I'm not, because if I believe that, that's my truth. But if I do not see the whole picture, then I get nothing out of it. And there will be many people in life that will say, oh, I'm saying from their own perspective, they say to themselves, oh, I'm 100% right, no matter what, screw you. If you cannot see the complete picture, you're seeing half an image. You're never going to get the full story. Because sometimes when we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Stubbornness is not a way to go. And I remember as I was younger, I was extremely stubborn. I would fight tooth and nail. If I thought I was right to the end, and not taking any responsibility for any part. And the only person that hurts is myself. So I hope when people watch this, whether it's now on the live show, and thank you to all the people who are listening, I appreciate that, or it's down the line, you are going to be judged for what you do, no matter what you do in life. So if you're going to be judged for doing something, it might as well be for what you believe in, and not what others believe in, just to fit in. And you see that all the time. Like you see it in Hollywood and in pop culture. Oh, who are you wearing? Who cares what they're wearing? Do you think the name on the back of a shirt or a pocketbook or a shoe or a pair of pants defines who you are? But most people say, oh, well, I have such and such brand because that's the popular brand and everybody's wearing it. So in other words, what you're saying is you're a follower who does what everybody else does. Is that strength? And then when people like myself and others who will risk being attacked, who will risk being ridiculed, who will risk being made fun of, think differently and speak differently, we're not praised for our individualism. We're not complimented for our going above and beyond in the regards of not just following what everybody else does. We're attacked for it. And there's many people out there. How many things in life could have been better if somebody approached something differently? Or at least learned from what they did and never did it again. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And the trolls and haters that come here, and I'm talking about the real trolls and haters, not the ones that cry victim all the time, the ones who constantly make fake profiles and say the same thing over and over again for the past 5, 6, 7 years, saying how they don't like me. If they keep doing that over and over again, their job is to try and get me off YouTube. And the best shot that they did was back in 2012 when I shut down my original channel, Barnon 11967. And how long did that last? I think 2 days or so I made this channel. And then recently on my other channel, it took a whole bunch of people to gang up on me to make me put my videos private for about 9 hours. So there's nothing wrong with being knocked down. It happens to the best of us. And it will, if not already, happen to you. Weakness is not being knocked down. Weakness is not using your strength to get back up. There will be tests in your life. You will have people, because it's easier. It's easier for a bunch of people to attack me, but that's not strength. Because if a bunch of anonymous people are attacking you online, only talking about, oh, you have a shaved head, you're bald, or oh, you're middle-aged, or, not talking about the issues and just making one-sided statements, well, they're not really somebody I have to really take too seriously. And the longer I did this, the more I started realizing that. Because in the beginning, I took it to heart. And I know lots of people out there do that in life. If you have a difference of religion, if you have a different sexual preference, as long as, whatever it is, as long as you're not hurting somebody else, who cares what anybody else thinks? And I've said this before on other videos, and I'm just going to share an opinion of mine. And keep in mind, it's my opinion. In my opinion, I do not believe in men dating men or women dating women. Now, keep in mind before anybody gets mad, I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. And I'm not saying somebody doesn't have the right to do it, nor would I stop anybody from doing it. What I'm saying is I don't believe in it. Now, my belief system has no right to infringe on somebody else's belief system. Prime example. When I DJ, one of the things I don't do is I do not DJ weddings because I find them too serious. I've only done 2 weddings, and they were both for friends. And the first wedding I ever did, after about 4 years of saying I will never do a wedding, a friend of mine approached me and asked if I would do theirs. And because they were close friends, I did it. Well, the first wedding I ever did was a gay wedding. They were my friends. I did not approve of it from my own perspective, but I didn't stop them. I didn't hate them. I wished them well. I entertained them for several hours DJing their party. But my belief system did not affect them because it's my own belief system. And when other people push their agendas on someone else and try and force their agendas, that's wrong. Now, people will say, oh, you're always talking about this, you're always talking about that. You're right. But there is no gun to your head saying you have to come here. You could leave at any time. You don't have to agree. I don't say either believe me or get the hell out. I say, here's my point of view. Do with it as you will. And yet there will still be people after 4, 5, 6 years of harassment still saying the same thing. Oh, you're still talking about orgone pyramids. Oh, you're still making organic soap. Oh, you're still talking about, light and 9/11 and things like that. It's like, yeah, because these are the things I believe in, and I'm sharing my belief. Doesn't mean it has to be yours, but if you don't like it, change the channel. Coming here to bitch about it's just kind of silly. And you will see, I will still get thumbs down. I will get negativity. Just like in your life, you will have times that No matter how right you think you are, there's always going to be somebody that's going to disagree. And it's okay to disagree, but not to the point where you have to hurt somebody. So I would never, if I saw two gay women walking down the street holding hands, I'm not going to go out of my way to insult them. I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to push them. I'm not going to do anything negative. I'm just going to keep walking. And if they want to say hello to me, I'll say hello back. It's not like there's something wrong with them. I just don't believe in that particular thing for myself. What's wrong with that? But people are so sensitive these days that they feel like they have to be politically correct and have to agree and just do everything. No, you don't. You have the right to have your own individuality. Unless we all want to become robots that think the same way, look the same way, and act the same way. Because trust me, that's very easy for that to happen. You could already see it. People are becoming so politically correct that heaven forbid you have your own opinion. And people will attack you for having your opinion. Now, if I was to be a person that said, I don't approve of, for example, gay marriage, and I went to gay weddings to harass them, or if I saw two gay people and I went to beat them up, well, then I'm in the wrong. Because who the hell am I to interfere with somebody else is doing, what they're doing? They're not imposing their will on me. They're not holding me down at gunpoint and saying, oh, now you have to be gay too. No. And it doesn't have to be just that. Let's say somebody believes in aliens, which, by the way, if you're religious, you do. Because if you think about it in the actual contents of the word, what is an alien? An alien is an extraterrestrial, not of this earth. So if you think of any god, none of the gods live on planet Earth. They're always in the clouds. Ever read the Bible? Read anything about religion? Well, if they're not of this earth, they are extraterrestrial. You just refer to the word alien and think of movies with monsters. And people don't think about that. Wait a minute. They say in all religions, gods are in the stars. They're in the clouds. They're in the heavens. Well, that's not the earth. So they're not terrestrial, they are extraterrestrial. But if you say, I believe in aliens, then, oh, you're automatically crazy. Think about that. Think of it in the text of religion, or in any other way. Let's say you worship cats as your god because you did your own research and you found that for some reason, maybe the Egyptians knew something you didn't, and that's why they worship the cat, and you say, I'm going to do that too. Well, if you're not hurting anybody else and you're not injuring any animals, because that's totally wrong and scumbaggish to do, and you just worship cats, who cares if somebody thinks it's crazy? Why don't you have the right to do that? Whatever happened to freedom? And if I can't say a friend, but I guess maybe you can. He's somebody on YouTube that made a video talking about free speech. Now, when I say I can't say he's a friend, I mean, we associate with each other, we know each other, but we've never met, we've never hung out, so it's not in the true sense of what a friend is, but we are friendly, so I guess in that aspect I would say he's a friend. And because people didn't like him, his video currently has, last I checked, 24 thumbs down, and he was talking about the freedom of speech. And because people didn't like him, they thumbed down the video, which to me suggests, okay, would you rather have communism, or socialism, or dictatorship, or fascism? We have to really check the emotions sometimes. You notice how I could talk about all this stuff. Now, the video I made the other day, which I'm keeping up as a reminder myself, I let emotions take over. And you could see the difference. I was hostile. I was angry. I was borderline abusive. But it shows that even the strongest can fall. And you'll have your weak moments, and that's okay. But if you let it affect you the rest of your life, the only person you're really hurting is yourself. But then the consequences of it is for every action, there is an opposite reaction. So the things that you do and say will affect others, even if you never notice it. And if you're the type of person that doesn't care about that, then that says more about you than it does the person that you're attacking or making fun of. And if you're a person that has a different belief, or you are a different way, maybe you are heavy, maybe you are a quote-unquote minority, maybe you have a speech impediment, maybe you have a physical disability, that doesn't mean you are bad. And even if everybody says you are, does not mean you have to believe it, nor allow it to affect you. you can fix the world if you did your best to do it. Now, that doesn't guarantee you will, but you'll have a much better chance if you actually attempted to do it than sitting there saying, oh, there's no way, because you will actually create your own truth. If you say you can't, then you won't. And that's when I talk about all the time by saying you have your own individual truth, and your truth is your own truth. Because if you say you're going to change the world, well, you're going to do everything and you can to do it. Now, that definition could mean lots of different variations. But if you say you can't change the world, well, you're not going to do anything to do that, so you create your own truth. So whether you believe or don't believe, it's the truth, because it just imagine what you apply yourself to. If you smoke cigarettes and you say, because, let's say, God forbid, a family member or a friend or somebody you know died from lung cancer from cigarettes, and you said, you know what, I have children, or I have a loved one, and I don't want to put them through what I just had to go through. So see this cigarette? I'm putting it out, and I'll never touch another one again. And if you seriously mean it, you'll do it. It may not be easy. But if you sit there and say, oh, well, you know, I'm so addicted to this, and I can't do it, and there's no way, and it's too hard, well, you won't do it. So either way is the truth. So which path do you choose to take? And there's an old saying that says it's easier to destroy than to create. It doesn't take talent to injure. Now, just imagine building a skyscraper. How much planning must be involved in that? Making sure the architects are there, the mathematicians are making sure that the numbers are right, and the frames are set the right way, and the drawings are done. Then you have to go get the materials. Then you have to get the people to build it. Then you have to make sure it's regulated, to make sure it's done correctly, and all the expenses. How many years of planning to finally make that building? And it only needs one set of explosions to knock it down. The difference is, what effort are you willing to take? And again, with consequences. Let's say somebody did, and hopefully no one will ever do this, because if you do this, there's something seriously mentally wrong with you and you need to be locked up in jail. But if somebody ever exploded a building, well, if that building is your only thing that you were intending, if you were saying, I just don't like this building, I want it down, and you decide, being a jerk and a terrorist and an evil person, to blow up that building, well, you're going to hurt the people that put the financial bits into that, the people that were working in that building, the people around the building, the families of those people. So one action can cause a chain reaction in a 360-degree pattern, even if your intent was only to do one thing. You know, you could sit there and say, oh, I'm building a new house, and there's this wooded area, and you need to cut down the trees. Well, cutting down the trees means less breathable air, because last time I checked, people have to realize that trees end up, you know, they turn carbon dioxide into oxygen. And what about the animals that were living there? Now, all of a sudden, they're displaced. There are always reactions and consequences for everything that we do, even if we decide to not pay attention to them or even see them. So I'm not going to make this video that much longer, because I always appreciate those who take the time to listen to what I have to say. And again, you don't have to agree with what I say. You don't even have to like what I say. But all I ask is just respect the fact that I have the right to make the opinions. And if you could have something resonate with you and you learn and grow from this, then it had a purpose, and it will create a reaction. If you're going to be somebody that just comes here, doesn't even listen to it, and just say, oh, you're an idiot, and you thumb it down without even listening to what it has to say, you're not learning anything. So what benefit is it having for you, other than it gave you a quick 2 seconds of bliss? And if you keep doing that year upon year, that means you have a black hole that will never be filled. That hurts you. But again, that's your choice. So as usual, if you want to leave your comments, you guys know I always appreciate that. You can see I do a lot of these live shows these days, because I just find them easier. It's quicker to upload, and I'm one of those people, I could just start talking and then just go from there. And if you appreciate that, I'm sure you'll be back. If you like it, I'm sure you'll give it a thumbs up, or you'll leave a nice comment. And if you're one of those haters that's just going to say nasty things, you know, welcome to Blocksville. And if you want to cry that, oh, he blocks everything that's negative, you're damn right. If you had a house and you had a party and you invite all your friends and some party crasher comes in and they start trashing your house, or they start talking not nice things in your house or at you or at your guests, you tell me you're not going to throw them out? So if you throw them out and they complain, oh, he's always throwing me out. Think about it in that perspective. You're having a party. You have all your friends there. Somebody crashes your party, starts calling you an idiot, a moron, trashing your house, and you kick them out, and they're outside the house now complaining that you always throw them out. That's what these trolls and haters do. They complain when they get blocked, and they wonder why. Consequence, reaction, responsibility. Something people need to pay more attention to. And trust me, I do that myself. And it doesn't always make you perfect. You will stumble, you will repeat things every now and then. And sometimes it's just a reminder to say, hello, McFly, you sure you want to go that route? It's all choice. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And for those of you who follow my comic book channel, every Sunday starting at 7 p.m., I do a silent auction where I allow people that sell comics or comic-related items to come on my other channel. It's called We Love Comics. And they can sell their comics or comic-related items on my live show for free. I don't charge anything. The only thing I require is you be subscribed to my channel. So if you're one of those people, you happen to have comic books or anything comic-related, whether it's a comic book toy, a comic book shirt, comic book pillowcase, and if you want to sell it on my show and save yourself money because there's no eBay fees or anything, if you want to come in and do that, private message me on my other channel, and you're more than welcome to do so. So I'm going to try and help as much as I can. So if people hate me for that, maybe they're just jealous they can't do better. Or maybe they're just angry. Who knows? My job is to not focus on it and care. So you'll see a video like this once in a blue moon. It's not focusing on them. It's just not being afraid to speak about it. Never be afraid to speak about anything. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see some of you tonight, and I'll see the rest of you on my next video. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good night, everybody.